Hey everyone! So, this is not the Gamera review you were led to expect. Well, to make a long story short, when I went to order the three 90s era Godzilla, the three Gamera movies from the library, I made a little mistake. I accidentally brought home the Millennium era movie with movies 2 and 3 of the Heisei era trilogy, not movie number 1. It turns out my library doesn't have the first movie in the trilogy, which is probably why I made that mistake. At least I'd like to think that's why, not that I short circuited. My mom and I watched Gamera the Brave right away, not having any clue that it wasn't the right movie. It was only the next morning when I checked out the back of the next one that I realized what happened. And I said, oh, poo. This is one of the reasons why I don't like to broadcast my video plans, because when I do, stuff like this tends to happen. Oh well, I'm still going to do the Heisei trilogy this month. I might as well. I have at least 2 of the movies, and I can watch the third one on the Internet Archive. It's not an ideal situation. I absolutely did not plan on spending so much time watching Gamera movies and working on Gamera reviews in the month of December, but I guess it'll be a nice Christmas present for all those of you who are Gamera fans and have been asking and asking and asking me to do this stuff for the last, 2 years. Hope you like it! Anyway, on with the review. Today we're going to take a look at Gamera the Brave, the 2006 film directed by Ryuta Tasaki. The Japanese title is Chiisaki Yushitachi Gamera, which translates to Little Hero Gamera. While Godzilla had 6 films come out during this millennium period, Gamera had only the one, and it's the 12th film in the franchise. A young boy named Toru finds a glowing rock that contains an egg. From this egg hatches a baby turtle, which he takes home and names Toto. But as the turtle starts to grow and to fly and to breathe fire, keeping it a secret from his father and from everybody else becomes too tricky. Toru and his friends manage to transfer Toto someplace they think is safe until one day they find Toto gone. There's not much time to wonder, though, as a giant monster comes from the sea and starts attacking, and Toto, now much bigger, reappears to try and fight it. Toru is reluctant to acknowledge that his pet is actually the new Gamera, taking the place of the original that sacrificed itself to save Japan 33 years ago. But this adolescent Gamera is much smaller than his new foe. Will he be able to defeat him without sacrificing himself, or will he need help from his human friend? I'll tell you right off the bat, I really enjoyed this movie. I was not prepared for the cuteness, the overwhelming cuteness that is Baby Toto. He's absolutely adorable, with his tottering steps and happy little face and noises of contentment. I'm a sucker for a cute baby, and I was immediately won over. And the bond between turtle and boy is a sweet one. You get the sense that Toto is just what this kid needs. He's still mourning the loss of his mother in a car accident, trying to act hard and tough, but reliving memories of her, and he and his father are struggling to relate to each other. In most of the kaiju movies that I've seen where a child is featured, he or she tends to be just one of the main characters, along with a couple of adult protagonists. Not so here. Toru is the main character all the way, and he's a compelling one. Credit goes to young Ryo Tomioka for his performance, as well as to all the kids who are featured here. That includes the 2 boys, the brothers, who Toru introduces to Toto, and Mai, the girl next door waiting to undergo a risky heart surgery. She's played by Kaho, who I've learned has since become a fairly prominent actress and model in Japan. I definitely got an E.T. vibe watching these kids work together to hide the turtle and smuggle it out of the house in the dark and team up to help him, and there is something Elliot-like about Toru's stubbornness and emotional fragility. There are a couple things I think this movie gets right that Toho's Godzilla movies sometimes struggled with. One is the kids. They are appealing, likable kids. Their performances are realistic. They feel believable. They never do anything that makes me roll my eyes. I never feel annoyed when they reappear on screen. Another thing they got right, at least in my opinion, is the execution of the comedy. I thought Gamera the Brave was funny, and not just in that laughably goofy way these movies sometimes are, but in a genuine way. Moments that were intended to be funny actually were, thanks to the way they were acted and edited. 変わったことなんて絶対あったよ. I loved the scene that shows the turtle wandering around the father's kitchen trying not to get himself accidentally le poisson. You know, the Little Mermaid. Le poisson, hee hee hee, ha ha ha. Now it seems obvious with the focus on the kids and the baby turtle and with the comical moments that this movie was geared toward a younger audience. But not one so very young, given some of the monster violence and the sincerity and panic of the evacuation scenes. I like the gradual way the other monster is introduced. Throughout the first half of the film, there's this subtle secondary storyline about boats being attacked. It's just mentioned here and there. We see news coverage of wrecked boats, we see a survivor of an attack getting killed, which is an eerie moment. It's easy enough to draw conclusions that there's something big and bad out there, especially if you're familiar with these kinds of movies, but we don't have any clue what the monster looks like until the main characters see it for the first time. This is Zetus, a kaiju of excellent design who we can safely assume eats people. He's kind of dragon-like. He's got a whip-like tail, these feathery-looking things, a flashy ruff that fans out like that dinosaur that attacks Dennis Nedry in Jurassic Park, you know the one. And he's got this move, which is weird, like if you could stab holes in people with your tongue. The visuals are pretty good here, a smooth blending of practical and digital effects. Both Zetus and Gamera are emotive, but tangible. They look like they're really there, although in certain shots, especially long-distance shots, it's a little less convincing. It's still a Suitmation movie. You've got Toshinori Sasaki playing both Gameras. He also played Baragon in Godzilla, Mothra, and King Ghidorah, Giant Monsters All-Out Attack, and Mizuho Yoshida playing Zetus. He played Godzilla in Godzilla, Mothra, and King Ghidorah, Giant Monsters All-Out Attack. Yes, I know I could just call it GMK, but saying the full title is just so much fun. Scenes of Toto walking or standing on his hind legs seem to have been kept to a minimum, which is smart, so you're not distracted too much by his bent knees, and the sight of Gamera standing on two legs is pretty silly anyway. As for Zetus, his long, slender arms and legs seem to work in his favor. There's something uncanny about his human-like movement, and somehow that makes him even creepier. Gamera, or Toto, is like the antithesis of that with his child-friendly face. I kept expecting that at a certain stage he'd level up and not be cute anymore, but nope, he maintains his approachable roundness. Since I hadn't watched any of the movies that preceded this, I only saw the very first Gamera movie, Gamera the Giant Monster. There were obviously some references, some Easter eggs, that I wasn't able to appreciate. One of Gamera's old foes, Gaios, am I saying that right, is featured in the opening prologue, a flashback set in 1973. Toru's father, then a little boy himself, watches Gamera fight with 3 Gaios, which are pteranodon-like creatures that were first introduced in 67's Gamera vs. Gaios and later appeared in several sequels. There's also mention of the disbanding of a giant monster council. Assuming this is something that carried over from past movies, I take it this was the Gamera franchise's equivalent to the JXSDF of the Godzilla movies. There's also talk of the significance of scarlet pearls and their connection to Gamera's energy. There's a minor subplot in which men in suits take Toto away after the initial fight and run all these tests and start injecting him with Gamera energy extracted from these pearls so he'll be able to defeat Zetus. There was enough exposition here that I wasn't left in the dark, but I did wonder about the origin of the Scarlet Pearl thing, which I assume wasn't something this movie introduced on its own. It wasn't a huge inconvenience that I didn't know about any of this stuff. I might have liked recognizing the references when they popped up, but I don't think I was any worse off for my ignorance. It's like if you watched one of the Heisei era or Millennium era Mechagodzilla films without watching either of the Showa era ones. The later movies give you all the information you need, but it might be a little more exciting if you're already in the know and you can compare the new to the old. The one thing I haven't talked about is perhaps my favorite part, or second favorite after the baby Toto cuteness, and that's the children's relay race to save Toto. This is a climactic moment. The three boys have set out to find Mai and bring back the lucky red stone to give Toto the power to defeat Zetas. Toru is fearful that Toto, who he thinks of as a child like himself, will get hurt or killed. Even though his father is furious with him for running into danger and believes Toto is just Gamera now and has to be left to fight his own battle, Toru won't be deterred. Meanwhile, Mai has had the same idea and is desperate to get the stone to Toto herself. A little girl standing nearby sees her being restrained and somehow knows what needs to be done and takes the stone. But she can only get so far, and then another kid comes, and then he can only get so far, and another kid comes. I loved this sequence. It's really something to see these little kids running against crowds of people, navigating piles of rubble and deserted streets. But more than that, and maybe it's corny, whatever, I loved the unspoken understanding between these kids, who don't even know each other, but come alongside each other to help. There was something, I don't know, magical about the sequence, and I was moved. And there's another powerful moment later when Toru stands before Toto and begs him not to self-destruct. Toru's plea is just so heartfelt, and you can't help thinking about how his mom died and he's still recovering from that, and if anything happens to Toto, he'll be devastated. Yeah, this movie was surprisingly emotional, but I like that. I like all of my emotions to be in play. And that made the victorious ending even more satisfying. I'm sure this movie has its detractors. I haven't done enough research into the Gamera movies to know what general opinion is about various ones, but I know how these things go. I can't compare it to any of those other sequels right now, but I can easily say I liked it better than Gamera's first outing in 1965, and I even liked it better than some of the Godzilla movies. I laughed a few times, I enjoyed the monster designs, the music by Yoko Ueno was unique and fun, I liked how it was filmed, and there were several moments that just warmed the cockles of my heart. Alright everybody, those are my thoughts on Gamera the Brave, the lone Millennium-era Gamera movie. It's going to be a tough act to follow, but now that I've filmed this review, I'm going to get started on the Heisei trilogy, for real this time. Let me know what you think of this movie in the comments below. I look forward to hearing what you all have to say, and stay tuned because another Gamera video should be coming right up. Thanks for watching.